Welcome to Catching Up with Coach. I'm Ken Kozrowski, and I'm joined by the man with all the insights, Dan Coughlin. Dan, thank you so much for joining.
You're welcome. I'm not sure I have all the insights, though, Ken.
Yeah, well, we'll
I
see.
may tell you I have all the insights.
Well, I first want to start with the program that you manned for so long, Aquinas football, here in the later stages of the regular season. Back to being playoff eligible for the first time since 2012.
Yep.
What have you seen out of this squad this year?
Well, you know, they've switched conferences. They went from the MVC to kind of a temporary conference because, as we were discussing, next year there'll be football-only conferences, and that's helped them. They've switched their offense. It's more of a run-oriented offense, and I think that's really benefited them.
Yeah.
So they have to play Lancaster this week, and then they finish up with Luther, and you know, I'm sure they're looking forward to the playoffs.
Yeah, a couple individual guys that really stick out to me. Will Cambio having a really good rushing attack.
Yep.
And then I'm really impressed by the poise of Gavin Wetzel at QB. 9 touchdowns to 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
What stands out to you?
Well, same thing. I don't think he's under the gun as much. You know, when they had a spread offense, and he kind of was forced. You know, the quarterback was forced to carry the load. Well, now it's a little bit Packerish. You know, where Rodgers is no longer needed to win the game by himself. You've got a good running attack, and things can open up, and I think that's really benefited Aquinas.
Yeah, and just a huge energy, as soon as they won that game against Darlington.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, in the last couple of games, Lancaster and Luther. Let's talk about the MVC now.
Yeah.
A couple of huge matchups this Friday. First, the standings, Holman and Onalaska undefeated 4-0 apiece in conference. Sparta's 4-1.
Yep.
After that thrilling win against Central. I don't know if you caught our highlights,
yeah,
but
it
they
was
were pretty
great.
rocking.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Central at 2-2.
Yep.
So a couple of matchups here, Dan. Holman's got Sparta. What do you see in this matchup between the two?
Well, Holman's going to do what they've always done. I mean, they run the wishbone, and they're going to run the wishbone, although they have thrown the ball at times. I'm really impressed with Sparta. I mean, Sparta's program had not been very good for a long time. And part of it, I think, they benefited from Wisniewski, who's a great player. But they also, things have opened up, and they've gone from a perennial, not very good program. They can do anything. That's going to be. I know you're going to ask me to pick it. If I were Holman, I would hope that I'm going to grind it out, and I'm going to limit the big plays from Wisniewski. But I think that's everybody's game plan going in, and not very many teams have been able to do that because he not only affects them throwing the ball, but he can run the football, special teams, plays defense, so he's a good great all-around player.
Yeah, set to play linebacker at NDSU.
Yeah.
The one thing that always sticks out to me about Holman, opposing teams know exactly what they're going to do every single week. They will not deviate from it, and yet Holman always gets it going offensively. How do they do it every single week?
They're very again, they know, the triple option offense, they know exactly what they're going to do, and they know if you make a change, you got to take away the 3 aspects. You've got to take away the fullback, you got to take away the quarterback, and you got to take away the pitch. And those are not necessarily, it seems like it's going to be easy to do, but it's not all that easy to do. And they're always big and physical up front. And if you're going to stop the wishbone, you have to match them up front. And I think that's where they run into trouble when they get up against big physical teams. So, but they crank out the good athletes. So, yeah.
Do you have a prediction in mind for that game?
I don't know. Yeah, I think a little bit of it has to do with the weather.
Yeah.
If it's going to rain on Saturday or on Friday night, the game, both of them are natural grass fields. It probably favors maybe a little bit Holman, but again, if Wisniewski can work his magic, and wishbone teams, when you get them behind, that's difficult for them to play catch up. So I don't know.
Yeah. We've seen Cam Weber throw the ball maybe 50 times throughout the season. Was 6 of 9 in the last matchup against Logan, threw 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, and sometimes that happens because you have to concentrate so much, to stop the run that you're basically leaving their receivers, one-on-one out there. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's one key matchup, and the other one, of course, Onalaska taking on Central. Onalaska's offense has really, really been firing
very
on all cylinders.
Very balanced.
Yeah.
Very balanced. But again, you've got Johnny Davis, and I think it's, in all my years that I've been around and seen the MVC, I don't think I've ever seen 2 more exciting players than Johnny Davis and Wisniewski.
Yeah.
And so everybody, all the defensive coordinators, I've got to do this. I've got to stop this kid. No one has found the magic bullet yet, though, so we'll see. Yeah.
Now,
And Onalaska's they're very balanced. I mean, they can run the ball and throw the ball.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be mainly Johnny Davis versus Onalaska's kind of overall talent.
Yeah, before we came into the season, we knew the return of Nathan Lubinsky would be huge
Yep.
for Onalaska, and he gets a lot of carries. He takes up a lot of other defenses' attention,
Yep.
and it kind of feels as a result that Austin Larson at QB is almost Western Wisconsin's best kept secret.
Yeah.
With how well he plays at quarterback.
Yep.
What stands out to you about his play?
Well, he's very accurate, and they're very well coached. Their offense really gives a defensive team typically what you want to do when you game plan is, you're hoping that it's either going to be a passing team or it's going to be a run team, and you can kind of gear, or they typically run to the right or they typically run to the left, and you can kind of game plan to stop that. Anna, you just have to play everything against them because they can throw the ball and run the ball. So.
And Onalaska's front seven has been pretty good against opposing playmakers.
Yeah.
Do you see Johnny Davis forcing Onalaska to have a shootout kind of game?
I haven't seen anybody be able to stop him so far, and I'm sure every defensive coordinator has tried his darndest to try to track him down, and he's just such a good athlete. That game could very well be a shootout.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Of course, we'll have highlights on the News 8 Highlight Zone Friday night.
Best highlight zone ever.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You're too kind.